G'day there guys, it's Connie here once again, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okie dokie ladies and gents, we're starting on Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user AvailableT7528, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for saying my brother shouldn't have brought his pregnant girlfriend to my wedding, and for refusing to let her be in my wedding photos? I got married last weekend. I'm still so ticked off at what my brother did. He took all of the attention off of me and my husband. Normally, I don't feel the need to be the center of attention, but this was my frickin' wedding day. I feel like it's all anyone was talking about during the wedding, and now it's like the main thing any of them even remember from the entire thing. It was a destination wedding within the US, so nothing crazy. We kept the guest list to our families, immediate and extended, as well as closest friends. My parents paid for our immediate family to arrive about 5 days ahead of time, so it was my parents, my sister, and I initially, and my brother arriving a few days later. We knew my brother was bringing a date, no big deal. He said he was just bringing a girl from school. He didn't even call her his girlfriend officially. My parents showed up at the airport to pick my brother up, and there he was, hand in hand with an obviously pregnant girl that none of us have ever met. My parents were obviously taken aback. My brother greeted them like everything was normal, according to my mum, and my parents didn't really know what to do or say. Then he just said, "Surprise!" My poor mum almost fainted and claims my dad yelled out, "WTF have you done?" He introduces us to this girl, but doesn't clarify if she's his girlfriend and doesn't give us much info at all really. It was very weird. It was obvious that she was uncomfortable. She said she wasn't feeling well and needed to go lay down after the flight. So at dinner, it was just our family as she was resting. We were all awkwardly sitting around the table eating dinner, barely saying a word. My mum finally says, "Brother's name, is that your baby?" By then we all assumed it was, but my mum needed confirmation. The lack of any real explanation or details from him up until then was just odd. He admitted it's technically not his baby, but he's in love with her and intends on being a father to the baby anyway. The actual father isn't involved and doesn't want to be, and if they get married, then he can adopt the baby so he'll legally be the father. She's living with him and none of us knew this either. He's been her main support person throughout the entire thing. She's 28 weeks, well 29 now since this was over a week ago. I think this was worse than what we'd all assumed. So in love with her that he's going to take on the responsibility of her child and marry her. Yet we've never even heard of her? He said he has mentioned her quite a few times. Or maybe he's mentioned her name in passing, not to me, maybe to my parents, but never said she was his girlfriend or pregnant. None of us understand. He's 21, about to graduate college, planning to enter law school next, and he's an attractive guy. Why would he do this? My parents, especially my mum, were stressing out about it all weekend long throughout my entire wedding weekend. It was like my wedding became an afterthought. All my parents could talk about was how to make my brother change his mind about this girl. Then, when the wedding photographer was taking family pictures, he wanted her in them. That was really the breaking point for me. She isn't family. None of us knew about their relationship, and we met her 2 days prior. She shouldn't be in our official family pictures from my wedding. It's like, forget the bride and groom, look at random heavily woman hitching herself to my brother. No, I told him no. I refused to let her be in the photos. My mum made me allow her to be in one picture, but said we don't have to buy that one or put it on display anywhere. It just made my blood boil. Anyway, I don't think he should have brought her. There was no reason to bring her to my wedding, especially without warning. I mean, it's all my side of the family could talk about, and he was reticent to even correct them about it not being his baby. He said that's because it was awkward for her to have to explain the full scenario to everyone, so he just let people think what they wanted. Because he wouldn't at least say something, everyone was gossiping and wondering about it the whole time. I'm posting this because I'm upset that several friends and even my own mum are telling me I'm overreacting and just need to accept it. When I told a group of my co-workers about it after the fact, they weren't at the wedding, they agreed with me and thought what my brother did was absolutely insane and rude. Yeah, gotta admit, after reading the title, I thought Opie was definitely going to be the a-hole here, but I think I rescind that judgment. The least he could have done is let Opie know that she was coming, and, what her relationship is to him. I mean, take away the pregnant aspect and all of that. Shouldn't everyone have a right to know who is showing up at their wedding? I don't know, let's go to the comments. Yeah, this is a wild story, and your brother was absolutely in the wrong. He should have definitely explained who he was bringing and what the circumstances were. Opie says he had months to tell us what was going on. Months. He didn't have to wait and surprise us all on my wedding week. A downvoted commenter says, everyone sucks here. You're being an a-hole for emphasizing how your brother ruined your wedding instead of being concerned about how your brother could be ruining his life. It's not like the poor expectant mother wore a white wedding dress and made an announcement at the reception. It's also an a-hole move of your brother to spring this major life consequence by surprise on everyone at your wedding. She replies, oh, I'm concerned about him ruining his life. It's almost all my parents could talk about all weekend. We all think he's insane and that this will be a gigantic mistake. In her defense, she seemed very uncomfortable the entire time, and I don't think she wanted to be there. I think my brother may have forced this on her as well. Opie adds, I don't think I would have been so upset about her presence if we'd just known ahead of time. He had months to tell us what was going on. There's no reason he had to spring it on us and our entire family at my wedding. Another downvoted commenter says, not the a-hole for the fact that you wanted your wedding to be about you, but you're the a-hole for the way you talk about this whole situation. Your brother is a very nice man for wanting to step up in that baby's life, and the way you said that he could pull anyone but chose her like she's a monster or something really made my blood boil. Opie says, he's 21 years old. He shouldn't be doing this to his life. He didn't get her pregnant. Commenter adds, doing what to his life? He wanted to step up, and that's not a bad thing. He's an adult. He likes her. She wants to keep the baby, so there's nothing you can do. Maybe he knew this would be the reaction of the family, and that's why he didn't tell about her sooner. It was a very bad move to introduce her at your wedding, though. He can still have an amazing future whilst being a step or adoptive father. Single mums deserve a partner too. Opie replies, do I really need to explain the what? He's 21. This decision could affect the entire trajectory of his life. It's like he's cleaning up somebody else's mistake, and he's going to suffer because of it. A lot of people are being kind of rude to you here, and I don't think that's warranted. The way your brother went about this was in very bad taste. He should have brought her way in advance to introduce her to the family. But at this point, what's done is done. Move on, forgive your brother, and support his decision to step up to the plate and adopt this baby. I have a good friend who is very pregnant. Her husband filed for divorce and took off. She met a wonderful man who saw her through the last of her pregnancy and adopted the baby as his own. They've now been married about 40 years. Opie replies, if he wasn't 21 and still in college, I might feel differently regarding his decision. I wouldn't feel differently about the way we found out, but I might be more supportive in general if circumstances were different. He's graduating in a few months. He was planning to go to law school immediately following, but now he's hinting that he'll delay that since he'll obviously need to have a full-time job to support a baby. Oh, and she took a leave of absence from school due to her pregnancy, so he'll need to support her while she goes back. He hasn't outright said he's going to delay his plans, but he's dropped several hints. He can't even fully support himself now. My parents pay for much of his life, so if they continue to do that, they'll be paying for this girl and her baby too. It's not fair to do to our parents. Not the a-hole. What he did was an a-hole move, though he probably didn't think it through enough to realize all the implications of his actions. He absolutely shouldn't have dropped that bomb at your wedding, or any wedding. Opie says, I don't think he did it to be malicious. I don't think he thought about what he was doing to me. He also hasn't apologized, though. If after being told something you did was rude and hurtful, at least own up to it. On the brother's girlfriend, he said they were friends for 2 years, but it didn't turn romantic until after she was pregnant. I think he knew in a wedding setting that attention would be divided. Your wedding was his meat shield. Opie replies, interesting take, and something I hadn't thought of. He was purposely trying to take attention away from me and my wedding. He just wanted some of the attention taken off of him and his poor decisions. Still selfish. Not the a-hole. If he has gotten away with a lot, then he definitely knew what he was doing. And the fact that you told him how you felt after your wedding and he hasn't apologized yet, just hammers it home that he doesn't give a crap. He sounds like a selfish, self-centered a-hole. I'm curious as well because you mentioned that you and your sister never got away with anything compared to what he gets away with in a different comment. Could it also be the fact that he's the son? Because that would be even crappier of your parents to enable that kind of behavior from him. She replies, "My parents pay for where he lives, and for where his girlfriend is now apparently living. I asked them if they were going to stop paying, and they said, well, we can't make them homeless." They also paid for a huge chunk of his college tuition. They paid for a small fraction of my tuition and told me if I wanted to move out of the dorms, I would have to pay for that myself. I did move into an apartment with a boyfriend eventually, but my parents didn't help out. My mum criticised me for living with my boyfriend without being married, and we couldn't even afford furniture. They say that they were just in a better financial position by the time my brother went to college, and they admitted they should have helped me more and just didn't realise. They learned from their mistakes and decided to do things differently once my brother went off to school. But they did pay for a lot of my wedding. My husband and I also contributed financially to the wedding. Another comment says, but again, meeting entire family first time at a wedding is, in my opinion, just a disaster waiting to happen if you're pregnant and not even by your partner. Opie says, he asked us not to tell anyone the truth about him not being the father. I respected that. Well, I told my friends, but I didn't tell anyone in my family. Even though I was annoyed, I still followed his wishes. You were not the a-hole. Not only was your brother an a-hole to you and your husband on your wedding day, he was also potentially an a-hole to his girlfriend. Did she know that none of you had no idea she existed? Imagine meeting your boyfriend's family for the first time and they didn't even know you existed. She says, I don't know how aware she was of the fact none of us knew anything about her. Yeah, that's rough as. Alright, enough comments. Let's go to an update. 4.5 months later. I think I might be about to do what I'm assuming very few people come here to do. I'm sharing an update and want to say that in hindsight, I think I was actually the a-hole in my situation. You can see my original post on my profile. I think I was riding high on wedding hormones and center of the universe vibes at the time, but I've slowly come down to earth in the many weeks since I last posted. I let my worry about the gossip about my brother and his girlfriend get in the way of me enjoying my day, and there's no way to go back and change it. I also realized that I should have just agreed to do one photo with his girlfriend included. One photo wouldn't have been important, and it didn't have to be considered the official photo of me and my family that I put in my wedding album or hung on the wall. Instead, I chose to be a witch to somebody I was meeting for the first time, and we already felt very uncomfortable. For many weeks after I made my first post, I was sure I was not the a-hole. My head has deflated, and I've had a talk with my brother about it. We both came to the conclusion that in our family, we didn't really learn how to have difficult conversations about things that we knew might make somebody else uncomfortable, which is why I couldn't calmly voice my feelings to my brother on my wedding day, and instead acted like a spoiled child. It's also why, instead of having a normal conversation with our parents to let them know that he was dating somebody who was pregnant by somebody else, and that he was going to be raising his baby as his own, he panicked and decided to just announce it without actually having to voice it to them all. And my wedding just so happened to be the first occasion he had to do so. I don't think he mentioned it to hurt me. Several people have asked me about an update on my brother and his girlfriend. Well, she's his wife now. They got married. They're still together, living together. We've gotten to know her a little better, and she's not as bad as we all wanted to make her out to be. I think she genuinely loves my brother, and my brother loves her. She's just so happened to be pregnant when they met, and they both acknowledge it's a bit unusual. My brother is the type who brings all the stray animals home, so I think we all sort of worried that he just felt bad for her and wanted to help her and protect her, but I think it's more than that. I went to her baby shower. She seems perfectly normal and nice and really crazy about my brother. The baby was finally born at 41 weeks, and of course my brother was there. The baby is several weeks old now. Half the time I forget that the baby isn't actually my brother's baby and isn't actually related to us by blood. After my wedding, my parents started to get more concerned about the whole situation with my brother. My mum became the most judgmental one. My brother talked to our dad and eventually got him to realize that my brother is an adult and he's going to do what he wants to do. Eventually my dad was like, "You're right, and I'd rather just support you here." My mum couldn't get on board. She wouldn't let herself even give his girlfriend or wife a chance. She convinced herself that my brother was just being manipulated and taken advantage of by this evil woman. She told everyone that too. So things were sort of tense because I felt somewhat in the middle at that point. But now, my mum has been the only person to babysit since the birth. It's like she saw the baby and forgot all about everything, and she's all buddy-buddy with his new wife now. I'm shocked that this woman has decided to not completely cut my mum out of the baby's life altogether, but perhaps she's a bigger person than all of us. Wow, there's a revelation to end up on. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about this story. Is this the good ending or the bad one? There's a relatively lengthy discussion in the comments, and we're going to go through that now. One downvoted comment says, "Geez, did you just really compare a pregnant woman your brother chose to date with stray animals people bring home to rescue from the streets? You really are the a-hole, aren't you? Damn." Opie says, "That's not really how I meant it. My brother has a big heart and can't resist helping somebody who he determines is in need. We worried about whether he was genuinely with her because he was in love with her, or if he was with her because he felt bad about her situation and had convinced himself he was in love with her. This is how we sort of looked at the situation previously, not currently." I knew exactly what you meant, and it's not like humans are any better than any other animal. A stray is a stray. Human, canine, feline, doesn't matter. Opie says, "No, it's the opposite. Animals are better than humans. I don't see animals as inferior to humans, so I really didn't mean it as an insult. I, for one, could only dream of being as beautiful and loyal as a dog." I don't understand why people want to use major family events for big rollouts. Long-lost relatives reappearing, estranged parents showing up with new partners, proposing, or in this case, the OP's brother debuting a new relationship. Other people's events just aren't the time. Opie replies, "In this case, it was because he just couldn't figure out a way to say it beforehand. Sure, I think if you've taken on the responsibility of becoming a parent, you should have the balls to have that uncomfortable conversation with your own parents. But at the same time, after reflecting, I've done similar things. Never during another person's big event. When it comes to not being able to tell my parents something I know they'll be upset about. In our family, growing up, all three of us have pretty much always done what our parents expected of us and wanted us to do." He showed his immaturity by injecting an emotional bomb into his sister's wedding. Sorry his now wife didn't see the need to avoid the scene the two of them created. You can shock slap a family with such news without raining on your sister's parade. Opie says, "He wasn't completely honest with her about it, and she thought we knew more than we actually did. She didn't find out the truth until they were already on their way, and he convinced her everything would be fine. She didn't want to come." I still think you're not the a-hole, and that your brother was an immature idiot to announce things the way he did. It was unfair to everyone, including his then-girlfriend. Weddings are stressful and highly emotional already. I can't think of anyone in my life would handle that news well with the way it was presented. But it is lovely to see that everyone has mended fences and is loving the new baby. It's the best possible update. Opie's downvoted reply is, "I'm not denying that what he did wasn't really the best way to go about it. He was still an idiot, but I can sympathise with how he felt about not being able to tell our parents. I also feel that I could have communicated my feelings in a better way. I could have been honest without acting like a brat myself. Our family only has room for so many of those." Not sure why that was downvoted. Seems like a relatively honest reply for mine. Another comment, "I don't know why you think you were an a-hole. You weren't. Just because you have since reconciled and are happy with how things have turned out, doesn't mean that what your brother did was in any way acceptable, or that your completely justified reaction to what he did was wrong. It wasn't. Don't rewrite history. You'll do both of you a disservice to pretend that you were in the wrong when you weren't. It's okay for him to have been an a-hole." She says, "I think I could have reacted differently, been honest about my feelings and story up for myself, without letting the whole thing eat me up and secretly wanting to explode." Okay, I'll be blunt and say that this is the most 180 of 180-degree turns. I don't think the original OP was the a-hole because I don't think the author of this post is the first OP. It doesn't even read like the first post. OP says, "It's me, the same person. Haven't you ever had a chance to look back on something you did in hindsight? I don't know, maybe this sounds bad, but now that the wedding is behind us, I just sort of feel like it wasn't as important as it felt like at the time. The world continues to spin." You were not the a-hole, and never were. Your brother was an inconsiderate a-hole for doing that to you, and your family gaslit you into believing you're a bad person for being upset about it. I hope you come to realise that you did nothing wrong by being upset after all, and you chose to cut these people out of your life before they make you think you're in the wrong for being rightfully upset about this kind of stuff again. Opie says, "Thanks, I guess. I don't know. I don't feel like I've been gaslit. Strangely, my husband is now more upset about it now than I am. He didn't even really seem to care about it when it happened, but he makes comments about my brother's a-hole move." Didn't he originally say they'd been friends for 2 years prior to their romantic relationship, but now you say she was pregnant when they met? He admitted he lied about them being friends for 2 years. He didn't plan to lie about it, but when he saw our reactions, it just sort of came out in an attempt to make him seem slightly less crazy. They met when she was already pregnant. She just found out basically and was apparently upfront with him about it. I don't know, in a way I find that slightly better than her having known him for 2 years and suddenly being romantically interested in him once she found herself single and pregnant. It was almost a relief to find out it was a lie. And why brother and sister-in-law got married? Well, they were married before the baby was born, specifically so he could put his name on the birth certificate and naturally be presumed the father by law. One comment says, in response to the "you're all losing your minds" comment, I have to agree with this take. I'm a married woman, but I'm not big on weddings, yet even I feel like any bride in this situation would have every right to be upset and refuse to include this person in professional photos. Beyond that, the whole situation with the brother and his now wife is abnormal. I can't think of many men, especially a young college-aged guy with plenty going for him, making a decision like this. The family has just gotten over him dropping out of school when he was probably almost finished to support a woman and a baby that isn't even his. Most families would be disappointed enough if it was actually his screw-up and his baby, but to willingly do this to himself is just not something I can imagine most families being supportive of. I don't have kids, but I feel like I'd be furious if this was my son. And a final reply from OP. I can agree that his decision is very unusual. It's not something I'd advise anyone to do, but he's an adult and we can't make his decisions for him. We grew up having all our decisions made for us, and I have a lot of resentment for it. So if this blows up, then at least it was his own decision. He didn't drop out of school. He graduates this month. He's putting off law school. He was supposed to go straight into law school, but he's postponing that so he can support her while she finishes school. I think we're all concerned he won't ever go to law school now, and he'd really been set on it before. Maybe he secretly doesn't want to go, but again doesn't know how to tell our parents. I also think we're all still worried about how much more difficult he's made his life as a young adult just graduating school. He can't just be concerned with finding a job and doing all of the other things a new college grad does. I definitely hate the thought of seeing him struggle, but he says this is what he wants to do. There's no guarantee this relationship will last. We're not taking bets on when it'll end, but realistically, they've been together less than a year, and now there's a baby in the mix, so time will tell how well they can handle it all together. Yeah, and he's hoping they do, but yeah, what a messy situation all around. Plenty of back and forth in the comments there at the end, but I think most people came to the conclusion that OP was not the a-hole, and that she was kind of wrong for backflipping and not believing that judgment herself and justifying her brother's actions somehow. I didn't exactly see it as a justification, I just saw it as, like OP said, hindsight. Take a step back and you can be more empathetic to things. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyway folks, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed that story. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.